No. Mr. Sinister is ready to clone all of you. I said, let's make some noise. Okay. So before we begin, let us all thank Lady J. Krakoa doesn't exist in the comic books anymore, so it takes a really strong leader to bring people together in a safe and amazing space, and that leader is Lady J. Okay, so folks, my name is Paul Flores Taylor. I host a podcast called Power of X-Men, and thank you, and I am so honored to be hosting today's panel for X-Men 97. We have two really great panelists, and our first guest is a Brazilian-born New York, LA-based actor and filmmaker whose work spans television, film, and international co-productions. He is fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, and English. He's appeared in HBO's The Time Traveler's Wife, A&E's The Glades, and Spidey and His Amazing Friends. He is also an accomplished filmmaker. His short film, Roses Are Blind, has garnered over 50 international awards and has been recognized by Cannes and Project Greenlight. Yeah. A formerly nationally ranked tennis player, he is charismatic, charming, and has his bright, illuminating smile. Please welcome Gui Agustini, aka Sunspot.
Hey,
so I don't know how you're supposed to introduce a pop culture icon, so forgive me, I'm going to try, but our next guest is a multi-talented actor with a sharp comedic sensibility, a deep love for character and storytelling. Her work spans TV, film, theater, animation, and video games. A UC Berkeley grad with dual degrees and numerous honors. She got her start in the Bay Area's vibrant theatrical scene before heading to New York, where she originated roles in plays by A.R. Gurney and performed downtown at the Fleet. You've seen her in Players and heard her voice as Trini in Power Rangers Rita's Rewind and in the Emmy Award-winning Blue Eye Samurai. She is funny, fearless, and amazing. Please welcome the mall rat icon herself, Holly Chou. What are you guys doing?
Good. I'm excited. This is so fun.
Is this your first time in Philly?
No, I've been in Philly before, but it's been a while and I've only been here for like, I don't know, a day. So
yeah, I've been, I think when I was like, 12, 13 on like a family trip, we did the Liberty Bell and the historical homework stuff.
Well, folks, we are here to talk about X-Men 97. And before we open up questions to everyone in the room, I just want to ask you both, and Holly, we can kick off with you. What was the first moment you found out about X-Men 97? Did an agent call you? Was Disney being nebulous?
No. So they don't tell you anything. You get your piles of auditions and you may or may not be getting the actual names of them. So this was under a code name. The character was a code name. The show was a code name. And the audition materials at the time, they were looking for a voice match. And so they were like, oh, here are some samples. And you can code name it, but the lines are just lines from Night of the Sentinels. And they're like, oh, it's a voice match. So what they gave for links of you're trying to match this, it's just clips from Night of the Sentinels. So I'm like, I know exactly what this is. They're making a new X-Men show. What is this? I don't know. So then I just worked really hard on the audition and tried not to, want it so much that I screwed it up. But yeah, you send your stuff and then not until I was, I sent that stuff in, you never hear back. A few months later, there was I think there was an email that was like, oh, they want to have you in for a test record. So they brought me in and just did a sample session basically. So we recorded, I think we recorded the script for episode 1. So we just did a session as though we were doing that. And that was the first time, in that session was the first time that they explained that it was going to be a continuation of X-Men 97. And it wasn't until I was it wasn't until I had been cast and in the first episode that they said oh, we have, Lenore Zan and Kaldad or whoever we're talking to, or some of the people reprising their roles. So it wasn't until then that I was like, I'm going to be on the same show as Lenore Zan. And yeah, they tell you nothing, but it's the short answer.
That is so fun. I didn't know you had gone in for a test like
Yeah.
like that.
Well, because I guess you didn't have a voice match to go to, so they could just.
Lucky me.
Well, what was it like for you, Dee?
Well, similarly with the audition process, though, I did audition for it twice. And differently because I didn't have a voice match. I never figured it out. It was X-Men at any point. I've never gone back to look at the sides of my audition. Maybe they, you guys would have, probably figured it out. I just never did. But I auditioned for it once, and about 4 months later, I got the same audition. I'm like, I've already done this, but here we go again, and 2 months after that, I got the email that I was getting cast in X-Men 97. I was obviously ecstatic and excited. I didn't know they had announced X-Men 97, at all. So I had no clue, but I knew X-Men because I grew up watching the show and watched all the movies. So I was obviously very happy.
Well, your characters obviously have very interwoven storylines, but both of you have such great infectious chemistry. And I believe we had spoken at the premiere. I believe we had spoken at the premiere. You guys did not record together. How did you capture that magic, though? I mean, and seeing you both together, I mean, you guys have a beautiful rapport.
Pretty incredible voice director, Meredith Lane. We have like the top director reading with us and guiding us through, who's got the big picture, because we only know what's in our session. And sometimes we don't know what's in our session until we're in the session because of NDA stuff. But yeah, she's got the the big picture in mind, and she's on the session with all of the other creatives that are sort of putting all of their notes and stuff in. So she's the one who's sort of filtering that through and putting it together. So it's all thanks to excellent direction, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So what was that vibe like when you guys finally met IRL? Was it at the X-Men 97 premiere?
Yeah, I guess all of us met each other there, right? Except for
Well, the people who knew each
who
other.
knew each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was at the the Roosevelt at the red carpet when we're all gathering for this group photo, and it had been leaked prior to that, like some of the names, and your name was was there and stuff. So I was just like. And my agent was there, and Sam was there. So I was like, "Oh, that's Holly." He's like, "Oh, yeah." So I came up to Holly. I was like, "Oh my God, so nice to meet you." It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like standing around, and I had just met Alice McCord for the first time, and I was meeting a lot of people for the first time. And then this very handsome gentleman goes like, "Are you Holly?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm Gui," and all comes together like. And watching the first episodes, we watched the first 3 episodes at that screening, and so that was the first time that I got to see your work even.
Yeah, same here.
Holly, how was it like meeting Allison for the first time? Did you get to speak to her ahead of time?
We got to message a little bit because we had recorded episode 4. They don't tell you anything. So in the session, when they were like, "Okay, I think we have everything we need for today," I was like, "Wait, am I also doing the voice for Abscissa?" And they were like, "No, we have something else in mind for that." So then, okay, of course, then the jig is up. But I think I asked if I could have her email address or something so I could send her a note, and we never got it. And then a couple weeks before, I don't know, maybe she didn't want to give her email address, but so then I think when I was brought back in for re-records for ADR and any line changes or anything like that for episode 4, by then they had recorded her track. So that's the first time that I heard her voice in it, which was very moving. And they passed along some very kind things that she'd said. So then after that, I think they were able to get me probably her phone number. So we were texting. So we messaged a little bit before the premiere, but I shouldn't call it a premiere, the fan event. But we were standing outside. I was standing with my brother and sort of being like, "Who am I supposed to look for? This PR contact person? Like, who's the point of contact? Whatever." So I'm standing there, and somebody goes like, "Holly." So this is that was our meeting, was outside of El Capitan Theater.
Wait, how do you pronounce older Jubilee's code name again? I still get it wrong. Abscissa? Can you guys say that?
Abscissa.
That was like the biggest question mark when that episode aired.
from Trig. I feel like it's got something to do with like the like a graph. Like it's like, I don't know, there's something that's like an asymptote and then like abscissa is something else. It's like it's a word.
Interesting. Well, thank you for clarifying that because I still don't know, even after 3 decades of being a fan.
Any mathematicians?
No, just mutants. Oh, what? We have Hank McCoy. Oh, wait, do we really? Oh,
Oh.
of course, Mike. Go.
Finish watching, while watching the original X-Men when you spare time. Did it like change your way you saw the show, the original show?
Change it like
Meaning, I was as a kid and X-Men had to sit like, wait, what did he just say?
Oh, well, we were told that it was going to be,
More
more
mature,
mature,
yeah.
and specifically with Jubilee turning 18 during the course of the show, like it's that cusp of like they shared that when they were sort of telling me how to play it. And then also we re-recorded that first episode a bunch of times. I don't know if that was true for you, but to get the tone right, they were still dialing in what they wanted it to be. So as the course of recording went on, that's sort of how we sort of landed tonally where we were going to land.
But also there were so many things we had no clue about because we only received the scripts that our characters are in. So we don't know a lot of the story. So we were just as surprised as you
There were
guys.
whole episodes that it was like, we watched it for the first
Yeah.
time when you guys watched it for the first
So
time. Yeah, we all know what scene you're talking about.
Oh, thank you so much, Miles, for that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dee, let me ask a question before I open it up to everyone. But so there was no Sunspot in the original X-Men animated series. What was it like walking in as sort of the point of view character and sort of having the ability to shape the character, not having to do that voice match, but sort of bring your own to that character?
Yeah, no, I think it's terrifying to do a voice match. I think I really, I suck. I've tried a couple times. So I was very glad that,
We got it.
no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, definitely exciting because it was the first time that I was going to have like such an arc in a show of a character, bringing it to life, for the first time, so obviously, really was really honored and a little freaked out. But I think the thing was that I didn't realize it was going to be this big, and I think it's a good thing for me because I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I think when I was auditioning because I didn't know, and then as I was recording, like, oh, this is great, this is cool, but I just had never been to a Comic-Con in my life. So I didn't know about the whole experience of the fans, though I was a fan growing up, but it was very different. So for me, so yeah, it was. Look, I'm super grateful, and it's been amazing representing my country, Latin America, and being part of the show I grew up with. But definitely, I'm very, very, very fortunate that I didn't have that in my mind.
Well, I have to tell you, we know so much work goes into a show like X-Men 97 from production, writers, directors, etc. But you guys nailed it with your characters, and you guys have made the X-Men a household name again. So thank you so much for that. So we're going to open it up to questions. However, I'm going to ask one more because none of you are going to ask this kind of question. It's the only time I'm going to ask this question. Is there any hints or anything you can tease? We know it's like working for the CIA. We don't want you in trouble. Is there any morsel you can give for season 2?
That's that question.
Oh, you're great at it. Come on. We are in it. How about that? Look at that.
Yeah, no, I don't think it could survive without Jubilee and Sunspot. Just saying, you guys are like the flagship characters.
Man, they like if the animated series is any indication, and X-Men 97, like they're fine taking whole episodes and just being like, oh, they went to the mall. And
Okay, well, let's open it up to audience questions. Does anyone have any questions? Right here, Wolverine. Dante.
I guess my question for both of you is, especially for you, what was it like to take over and like bring this character back and like give it like revive and maybe give it your own flavor as well?
Yeah, first of all, I love this gesticulation with the claws. Like, it's just natural. You know, this is how great to ask a question. So what was it like? I mean, I think as he was alluding, like, you know, yes, you feel pressure and stuff like that, but also pretty early on, they kind of relieved me of the voice match burden. You know, as I said, we were re-recording and they're dialing in, and they're figuring out that even with the actors who are reprising their own roles, that we're all allowed to do something new and make our choices in real time, because it's a continuation, but it is different tonally. It's its own thing, and we can discover what that is. And so, because my voice is already not dissimilar, so by just doing my natural voice, it doesn't take much to. It doesn't take much of a stretch to get it sort of similar to Alison Court's version of Jubilee anyway. Yeah, once again, our brilliant production team, you know, creative team and voice director created an environment that was very freeing and encouraging about putting your own stamp on it.
Yeah. Well, that's all I can say in terms of that, because I didn't have that. But I think like exactly what you said, like the confidence that we were given to make our own choices, or, you know, what we did in the audition, that's what they wanted.
Yeah, that's what they hired
right?
you for.
That's, yeah.
And
So
the permission to suck too.
Yeah.
Like you figure it out in the room, you know.
that's the beauty of voice recording and voice acting. People ask me, I find it less pressures, because you just can do it again. You know, it's like you do one line, you can do many takes, and you can try different ways.
Come back for another session. And try to get it right. Yeah. You'll rewrite the line to make it work, you know. There's a
It's, you know, when Sunspot was introduced, and immediately we're able to bond with the character and understand that's the point of view character because of your delivery in that first scene. And Holly, when we just met right now, that scene I was telling you about with Jubilee at Genosha, it just represents all of mutant kind's like hope, like someone survived. And it was your delivery on that. It was Jubilee, but it was so emotionally packed. So another round of applause for their incredible talent. All right, questions. Come on, mutants. Any questions? Right. If you have to, Dr. McCoy.
I would say, would you like to see your character in live action? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
well, our characters have showed up in
yes.
live action.
Oh, yeah, but the thing, maybe.
I would love to see a Sunspot movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Spin-off. 6 seasons in a movie.
Or a Gilberto movie. That'd be nice.
Wait, what did you say? Oh, Pixie strikes back indeed. That was savage. As long as it's not New Mutants again. I'm going to be salty here. I want an X-Men 97 movie, an animated movie. I with you guys coming back, you, Lenore, and everyone.
I'm not gonna be mad about that.
It's a good idea.
Yes, Spider-Man, come on.
Say this year, get the X-Men live action film.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. That's amazing. Gosh, I was in high school when they came out. No, I'm getting Botox. Oh, X-Men Evolution is so great. Such a great, and Sunspot was in X-Men
Yes,
Evolution.
I think that was
So was Jubilee.
That was the first introduction, I think, to TV that Sunspot had, and I didn't know until that last year, and I was very surprised to know I went to the Brazil Comic Con in December, and I think Evolution was so huge in South America, like everybody knew Sunspot because of X-Men Evolution.
Pixie, did you have a question? Oh, I saw you raise your hand. I didn't know if you. Okay, in the back, Wolverine. Or no, it's not Wolverine, Cyclops. I'm sorry.
I mean, amazing. I mean, I mentioned a little bit that they didn't like read when I was reading the script, I didn't know that, right? And so first I'm just reading the script, just being like, this is awesome. And then what happens? No way, no way. So I go in excited to read this, but I mean, the thing is with production and stuff like that is that, you know, actors want to have the script as soon as possible to start working on it and stuff, but like they're either NDA wise not going to give it to you until like the day before, if that. But that day there was some mix up and I just didn't get it until like 2 hours before the session, and I was working, so I was like at my desk trying to like I can't read this right now, so I'm doing it cold in the session. And then, you know, later after some rewriting and stuff like that, got to go back. But the establishing track was like not. I would have loved to have another crack at that, but yeah. Once they said at the end of that session, like, or they let slip, you know, my clues, then like, amazing, great, brilliant. Can't do anything about it now. I just recorded all the stuff. And then, when I went back in for ADR, is when they, you know, gave playback on her sessions and shared the very kind things that she'd said about, what she'd heard of my work so far. And yeah, as you can imagine, it was, moving and, essential and, you know, a once in a lifetime kind of experience that, you know, how many people get to have that kind of experience, you know?
Thank you so much for your question, Cyclops. Can I ask you both a question? What was it like meeting like Cal and Lenore? Was there that moment where you're like, holy frack?
I did have that moment with Cal because it was, you know, after the premiere when we're like, I had gone to the bar that everybody was supposed to, there was 2 bars, right? So
Yeah.
people were like half of one, half of the other, but I was there early with my friends, and then Cal, I was like the far corner of the back, and then Cal showed up with his wife and they sat kind of in front of me, and I was like, oh my God, Cal. And I was like, oh boy, yes. And I came up to him, please, can I take a photo? I was like, and you know, Cal is great. Yeah, I love Cal.
I met Cal and Lenore both earlier that day because there were 3 of us, new cast, and 2 OG cast who were that day of the fan event. There was an interview at
Oh, right.
what the outlet was.
IGN.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you. So there was an interview at IGN, and so I showed up, and Cal was already there. And I was wearing I styled myself, but it was a t-shirt from Hot Topic circa, you know, 1999 or something. But it was Sabretooth holding Wolverine up by the throat. So it was that, and then I had like a red blazer over it. And so he, you know, I walked in, Cal sees the shirt, and he's like, come here, you, and then like, you know, gave me a hug and a smooch on the cheek, because he's of that generation that will always just smooch you on the cheek when he sees you. Not that I mind. But and then Lenore came shortly after, and I definitely cried when I met Lenore for the first time. She gets it all the time. She was very gracious about it. But yeah, it went about as you would imagine it would, meeting your literal childhood heroes.
Questions from the audience?
And I also met AJ and Ray. They're fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, AJ. I'm sorry, Wanda, if you're going to ask a question, you have to say more mutants when you stand up. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Wanda.
Let's say, for example, and it's not X-Men, but seeing White Tiger, who's Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican. How did it feel to get to play someone that you feel like represents who? I can't say specifically where Jubilee's from. Obviously,
She's Chinese American.
Chinese American, yes. So I didn't want to say like exactly what but like, it's a similar background, how does it feel to be like, get to play a character that at least represents a similar background to you?
Yeah, I think it's very special, especially, for me as a Brazilian, like, I think like we've been having I've been saying this, like, Brazil is been very, so much of the spotlight this year with so many great productions coming out and so many recognitions, but, it's so nice to have more of our culture in big IPs or just, I guess here in Hollywood. And so I was delighted. I was so honored. I keep saying that. I think that's the main word that comes to mind is it's, honored to be the one, selected to bring Roberto to life. And it was such a joy. I mean, I'm such a patriot. Like I love America. I'm an American as well. But yeah, I'm my mom is Argentinian, my father is Peruvian. I'm very Latin, but I'm Brazilian. So yeah, very nice.
So in the 90s, there were not a whole lot of Asian actors. So what we noticed when there was somebody who was Asian, right? And then when there's this character that shows up in X-Men, the animated series, we couldn't really tell because the style at that time was not, I don't think it's like deliberate erasure, but they don't, white was the people, right?
Yeah.
So they're just drawing everybody to look how they think most people look. So then the only way that we confirmed, because as 8-year-olds, we didn't have a lot of access to like comic books per se. Yeah. So this character in Night of the Sentinels, when the Sentinel like is scanning her, it has her information in its dossier because her foster parents have registered her, and it says full name Jubilation Lee. And it says that she's Chinese American. And by pausing, recording off the Saturday morning, timer when we were at stupid school, Saturday school, whatever. It's Chinese school. I don't want to say that, but yeah, like recording that and then like pausing at the right frame and then looking at the thing. That's the only way that we even confirmed that she was Asian/Chinese American. And the fact that she was not just Chinese, but she was Asian American in a way that we hadn't seen represented before. Showing like, hey, there are fully American kids who also have faces like this, Right, you don't have to have an accent. And then also at the same time, because I've now voiced a couple of lines as Trini in Rita's Rewind, Power Rangers was not as important a property to me growing up, but again, we noticed here's somebody, and it's somebody, she had an accent too, because the actor had an accent and she was Vietnamese. And like this positive representation of like, it's not a stereotype to have an accent. People have accents, but the more that we proliferate in, popular culture and just sort of normalize seeing all kinds of people with all kinds of levels of Americanness or foreignness or language proficiency or accent, reduction or all of that, like all of these people get to exist and be part of the storytelling and stuff like that. So yeah, as you can guess, it's important to me, and it's as you say, an honor and a very welcome responsibility to participate in portraying these characters.
Well, thank you. Let's give a round of applause for that. Because if it was something that was very noticeable for those who pay attention in X-Men 97, we had episodes where you had Forge, Storm, Sunspot, Jubilee leading the episode. And a couple years ago, that was unheard of. So thank you guys for being trailblazers. All right, mutants. Yes, Quicksilver. Although you're not mutant anymore. No. We love Quicksilver. No, don't. Not so fast. Oh, Daddy's home. Oh, and your sister. Oh, we got 3. You got to choose a Wanda later. Okay. Oh, there's Florence. Where's Florence? Oh, we have 2. We have X Factor and we have X-Men. Okay, we need a Magneto and Childred. Quicksilver, what's up?
they'll hire.
That is very
We have
true.
auditions due Monday, like, please, we need to work. We
I'm
need
rethinking
jobs.
one tonight.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
It's all the time.
it is, but I, like, now that I'm a part of this animation world that I never intended, like, consciously, I obviously love it and I want to continue to bring other characters to life. And yeah, I mean, I'm a lover of films and I'm a filmmaker, and so that's always going to be, I think, my number one passion of, creating and being part of them. And so I hope I continue to tell, great stories I'm passionate about. And obviously TV is such a great media for, character development and just having a greater impact and, for myself and for others.
I will say that my two major dreams growing up were literally X-Men, the animated series. So check one. And then the other was because it was the 90s and I sort of grew up in the era of like must-see TV and the heyday of the multicam sitcom. That was the other major dream because it's kind of like it's close to theater and it's like an opportunity for a lot of like physical comedy in the way that the old Dick Van Dyke Show used to do or stuff like that. I will say that having checked off one for X-Men 97, technically, if you count an unaired pilot that was single cam and not multicam, technically I've checked both off. But
you will check both because you're very funny and very witty, and you're going to be in a multicam.
They have to keep making multicams. They have to
will.
greenlight more projects, and they have to see me, and I have to book it.
Yes, absolutely. Can I ask a question though, before we turn it back to the audience? What's it like doing sort of a live action performance and how do you switch gears for voice acting?
So it's technically there are some different skill sets that you have to like bring to form, but the acting part of it, it's all the same. It's objectives, it's script analysis, it's text work, it's all of those, it's building a character. When it comes to voice acting, there are a few things, there's mic technique and there's articulation stuff. There's I do the same warm-up for either. And also like warming yourself up physically, it's kind of the same deal with no matter what you're doing. It's, I don't know, it's like driving a car versus riding a bicycle, I guess. It's just like you're just gonna do what's called for in each situation.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think just like the nature of the different mediums is like gives you different opportunities with voice. You can repeat things, you can create things a little bit more. You have more freedom, I think, to like try out things when you're on camera, not as much usually, but yeah, and I think for all of us, it's we all care about that moment, that one moment, right? So I think the presence is really what we're looking for. However, whatever we do to get there and being truthful and honest.
Yeah, are you conveying the
Whatever it is that we're asked to do, if it's a little more high stakes, if it's really, rounded, whatever it is. So yeah. Which is the beauty of acting, because everything is so different.
Yeah. In terms of playing in person, that is true that there is no, unlike theater where you'll spend like 6 weeks at the table or in rehearsal, where, in order to come up with a plan for what you're going to do on the night. The voiceover thing and like it's less rehearsal even than like TV because you still have to be memorized usually for on camera. It might change, you'll get sides that day, but in voiceover you do sort of like when you're at the podium or like at the music stand or in the room is kind of the first time that you're going to be playing, and then they record your playing as opposed to like, okay, here's there's at least one performance when you're on your own and flying free. So it's safer in some ways, or you feel sort of more less pressure because you can have as many takes as you want. It's very low stakes that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Were you guys able to take any risks when you were doing your X-Men 97 work? Could you go off script and say something that maybe became a bit more organic in the moment, or were you very much
auditions or like
in production, in sessions?
They'll give you a couple that are like, okay, we'll do it as scripted, and then if you want to come up with some alternates or they'll come up with alternates right there. Like some writer will be on the session that's like, let's try this or let's try, these things. Or, you might throw in something that just helps you, like a pre-beat or, if the line is like, get out of here, you might take it upon yourself to go like, ew, or something like that beforehand, right? Just to get you in the thing. And they might use it, they might not, they might cut it out,
Yeah, that's true. But I think I learned that more as I went, as I did more sessions, but in terms of like really coming up with like lines or changing, it didn't happen so much for me. And in terms of the Portuguese stuff, people have asked me and I think everything I said was written on the script. And I found out, last year, because Bo has a really good friend who is Brazilian. And so he just asked him, how do you say this? So it came natively from somebody that is Brazilian. So they were spot on, except for one expression that I mentioned. It'd be better to say it this way, and they were all game for it. So.
Questions from the audience? Deadpool. Come on here, Deadpool.
It's like legit. Hi.
Good question. You guys had the opportunity to voice a different character from the X-Men universe. Other than yourself, who would it be?
So if folks didn't hear the question, Deadpool asked which character, not their characters, would they voice if they could?
Do you really have to ask me, Bob? That's the only thing I can probably do badly, but close to it.
I feel like she's not dissimilar, but Kitty Pryde is a yeah, very cool. But yeah, anybody. I grew up obsessed with Rogue. I had my early crushes, like everybody else, were Gambit and whatever. Morph would also be fun. They're all
I love Morph.
great. Exactly.
It's so good.
What about when you guys were growing up, though? Did you have a favorite character, either from the comics or from the show?
Rogue. Obsessed.
And mine was Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's why. I guess I said.
Thank you so much, Deadpool. Other Deadpool variant in the back. Look at that. That's so dramatic, the way you're going to be asking this question now. Go like that. So,
Back there, and who we turn around?
What was the question? Oh,
For NDA purposes.
spell.
I think the question is about X-Force. Did I hear that correctly? So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of X-Force, the comic book, and that?
I think it's great. And I love Sunspot, and I love that look is my favorite up to X-Men 97.
I like Polaris, so
Yeah.
but I'm not. I won't claim to be that well versed on the X-Force comics. I have a bunch of them, but I have to read.
Thank you, Deadpool, right there. Which other? Do we have another question for me, Deadpool, or questions from the audience? Oh, you got one more? All right, come. Listen.
He's on a roll.
I know this is kind of like a vague question, but what was your favorite moment while doing this?
Getting to hear playback on Abscissa talking to Jubilee. I have obvious. Like, what's your favorite episode? I have an obvious answer.
Look, I have to say that the first session where I got to meet, the team and it was so special for me and to hear, like we were talking earlier, like the confidence that they gave us and to hear them say to me, look, this is your character. Like, we're going to work around you. Like it gave me so much, ownership and never happened to me before that way. So it was so special. And then I think because of, Wolverine being my favorite character, when I ADR, the only scene I'm really with him, in the danger room, to see that. I was like, oh my God, it was so awesome.
That's true. When they play you little snippets, when you go back first. So when you record at first, it's just the script, and so there's nothing they have to show you. Maybe like an animatic of like a fight scene or something like that. But it's just like, you know, sketched out. And then by the time you come back for ADR, often they'll have something to play for you. And because the engineer in the room and then also the team like knows what a big geek you are, sometimes they'll be like, you know, like you watch a little sneak peek stuff.
It's so awesome.
Wait, did you get a sneak peek to the Genosha destruction? Was that a surprise for you?
Yeah. So that is one where
Oh, you don't know.
they hid the episode.
Oh no, he's just sad. No, he's just sad.
Ah,
He's just sad. No.
my God.
I'm already
Maybe, they specifically hid that script from everybody. So if you were not Lenore or AJ, I think,
You didn't know.
yeah, you weren't given the script. I was, however, mistakenly sent the script. So I'm reading it. So I'm sent like, you know, you're going to record for like 3 episodes. So like, here are the 3 episodes. And I'm reading one of them. I'm like, well, I'm not in this one, but holy shit. And then I go into session. They're like, okay, so first thing is that you were not supposed to get that. Nobody was supposed to get that. So shush. And then I like held my tongue for like, you know, even again, during the season drop, we're dropping it episode by episode. And again, a lot of these we're watching for the first time. So when episode 5 comes, again, Lenore, AJ, and like I know, and I'm not sure if anybody else did when, you know, when midnight hit on episode 5.
Well, I didn't know that story, but I knew a week before. I'm not gonna say who told me, but somebody told me a week before. Like, oh damn.
And even if you knew, like I had read the script and I was not prepared to be as devastated as I was, you know?
Dante.
I don't know if you can answer this question. If I remember correctly, please help me later. In episode 5, we saw a glimpse of our friend Watson. Is there anything that you can say about that?
She's saying that. I have no clue.
If I did, I couldn't tell you, but I don't think I.
We spoke to Bo about it. Watu was there because he witnesses all major events. So that was a little hint to the audience that something big was going to happen. That's a great question, though. Any questions from me? Yes. Okay, wait. We're going to go to Beast, and then we'll go to you, Sebastian Shaw.
In your series, you see a lot of other Marvel heroes throughout, especially toward the end. Which one is Marvel heroes would you want to see out with your character in the movie?
Spider-Man. Another childhood crush.
Yeah.
Donatello, Ninja Turtles, and Christopher Daniel Barnes' version of Spider-Man, of Jim Parker.
Yeah, I would
Robin Hood.
I would say that as well, I think. Yeah, now I've been saying this, like it's not necessarily team up with, but because through the process of production, I was sent some New Mutant comics, and one of my favorite scenes between Roberto and Deathbird, and so I didn't know Deathbird was going to be in the show because I was not in that episode. When she was, I was like, oh my God. So I just hope that there's an interaction between them.
Okay.
First of all, Spider-Man and Jubilee, 100% yes. And Sunspot and Deathbird, yes. Like double yes. She'll take you out of the Milky Way.
Of the like super powered animals. Like I like Lockjaw, I like Lockheed, I like Frog. I think that would also be very cute. And that's Holly teaming up, not just
You have Wanda crying here in excitement. Sebastian.
One for what advice would you give to one of the voice actors?
study acting.
Yeah,
first.
acting.
Like voice acting is acting. So whatever acting training classes, you know, high school drama, any of that. But also there's an actor called D. Bradley Baker who has basically like started a course specifically because this question is always asked multiple times. So he's basically like, I think it's called I want to be a voiceactor.com.
Yes.
But basically it's like all levels, like wherever you are, if you're like, I've been working as a theater actor for years, but I'm interested in voiceover. You're like, I've never acted in my life, but I am interested. You know, he's got an entry point for everybody. So like, he's basically like, got it done, took care of it, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sebastian. Can I ask you guys, the ending to season 1, obviously it's on a big cliffhanger. How did you guys metabolize that ending? What were your reactions to it?
Well, I'm not very versed with the comics. So, as I was watching, yeah, I had read it, but a lot of things, it had been a while, so I didn't go back to read the script again. Oh, actually, maybe I did, because I was like, no, I don't want to be surprised, like watch, but I was also watching it before because we were having these like weekly screenings at a place in Los Angeles. And so I would watch with a lot of fans and for the first time. And
Were
then
you like, oh my God, I didn't know that was happening?
right. So then I decided, no, I have to watch it first and then I go watch it a second time. But I did not read the script again. So yeah, just after I was getting all these with the guesses and all the big cliffhangers that people were talking about, and so I became familiarized with them because I didn't know them from the comics. So
Sure, would have mattered if you went back and reread the scripts because they change stuff all the
oh
time.
well, so
They change stuff after you record it. They change it before you record it. They change it like right before it airs.
especially that ending. So yeah, probably.
You know,
How did you react?
I think when I read the script, I don't know. I just take it all for like whatever information they need out. That's you just accept it, So it's like I don't know. We're recording out of order. For all I know, this was like, oh, I guess there's a cliffhanger, but for next episode. And then is there a next episode? I don't know. I forgot by then, It was like 10 years later.
Yeah.
Well, that's very Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Where it's like, I don't know what we're recording for. Like, where are we at?
Wait, first of all, that's deliberate because then you can't spoil stuff if you don't know stuff. But also, like, that's also just like that's why Frankie Muniz can't remember half of what happened on Malcolm in the Middle. It's just like, I don't know. It was Tuesday and we recorded for 15 hours and I was 9. I don't remember,
Who do you think in the cast, though, is most likely to accidentally let out a spoiler? Who's the Tom Holland of the crew? Oh, Gambit, the voice of Gambit.
Oh, you know who it is? It's the legacy cast because they do not pay attention to like, okay, don't say this. And then they'll like post like, I was just in the session for this. And like, you can't say anything because they're legacy cast. I feel like based on conversations with production crew, that's who is sharing stuff.
And how can you ever get angry? Because Lenore says it like, Sugar, do you know what's going to happen? Sugar, I'm just not, I don't understand Magneto. Yeah.
Like, just not careful with that stuff. What are you gonna say?
It's true.
Questions? We have a couple more minutes. We have room for maybe one. Yes, Storm in the back, and then we'll get you as well. Storm. In the back, can you be a little quiet so we can hear Storm speak? I know the party's always in the back.
But also come up because we want to see this incredible outfit.
I know. I want to see Magneto and Storm, everyone come up.
This is your next favorite parent from the X-Men, right?
I'm a Romy stan. So the Rogue Gambit pairing.
Yeah. I think so too, but because Wolverine is my boy, like I don't know, I want that to work out, Yeah.
Oh,
I do.
Bueno, ya tú sabes there. Okay. Oh my God, Storm, thank you so much. So at the end, in our final episode, we had you guys sort of bickering. What was it like when you saw that part of the script where you guys were versus each other?
You never know if it's like a spat or if this is a big plot line or something like that. Again, they don't tell you. So I feel like I was always trying to keep it like, whatever happens, happens, just for myself. I can't get too attached to any plot line, on any given plot line. And I will say that we both have art with Gilberto together, and of course we're big on Gilberto, but like it is nice that people see these characters as individuals, so it's not all of it, we're not reduced down to like, oh, who do they have a crush on and who do they like and stuff like that. Like during that Family Feud thing, like it doesn't have to be in relation to some dude that you think of Jubilee, and it doesn't have to be his attachment to Jubilee, like Roberto's his own character. So I think that's pretty great as well. But so I feel like when it comes to like the breakup between them, it was sort of like, well, here's an interesting plot line, but like it doesn't make or break the series or them as characters.
But I also I remember Holly was like, yeah, we know when we break up, but I never saw it that way. I just
Right. It's
a
sad.
thing, but yeah. So, and then because it had been so long, I didn't even remember. She was like, "Oh, we're gonna have this." Like, oh, really? I was like, "Oh my god!"
There was one trailer for the episode where you and Rogue go off to join Magneto, and there was a trailer for that episode, and it had Jubilee ripping up his card, and somebody in the comments and like YouTube was like, "Oh, what did he do?"
That's true.
Listen, X fans were sleuths. We'll figure every little panel. But I just before we throw it to you really quickly, I think it was masterful how the relationship was handled, because Jubilee was that point of view character in the 90s, and she graduated to being more of a mentor to Sunspot. And you became that point of view character. So when you both came together, you were established, but it also was an organicness to the storytelling.
It's also that the show hasn't really portrayed the school as a school with other kids in it, and so it's like the first time some other young person comes along, this is like
you were the impetus for that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. And our DJ, can we get a round of applause?
No,
Listen, no pressure, man, but you're like the final question here. You're like time.
No. I was actually thinking, all you guys were answering a bunch of questions. Do you kind of like feel when you're voice acting that you become the character sometimes, or it feels like, oh, that's me, like when I see them on TV or when I watch the show for the voice that I'm portraying that person, like, and then when you do see it, you're like, oh, that's something that I wouldn't do, and kind of feel like, oh, that's me as a character, but I wouldn't do that.
I feel like it's your job as an actor to find the reality in any character. So like any character, if you're playing a massive villain, if you're playing a crazy racist, whatever, if you're playing whoever, it is not interesting to play them as a villain, right? Like to play them as the actor judging that character. Like sketch comedy or something, maybe playing sketches. But like if you're the job of the actor is to find how you are similar or how you can sympathize or empathize and try to portray them honestly. And so if you've done well, that's not true. Some people can never see themselves even if they've done a fantastic job. But like, sometimes when you're watching I'll say it's easier when it's an animated character, because when you watch yourself on camp, like live action, and you haven't gotten to see it before, like the first time you watch it, I feel like it's just like, do I look stupid? It's like, the first watch through at least is always going to be like, I wish they'd used a different take.
Yes.
I should have worn something different. I wish they had shot that from a different angle, et cetera, et cetera. Or I wish I'd made a different choice or whatever. But with watching X-Men specifically, again, the first time that I was getting to see like my work played back was at the fan event where they were screening the first 3 episodes. And so it starts with Gui first. I'm like, this guy's great. Everybody's great. This show's so good. And also we're seeing the show for the first time. We're like, the show could have sucked. We would have been excited to be part of it, but we didn't know how good it. Like I'm reading the scripts and doing the sessions, being like, I think our show's gonna be good. I hope it's good, but you never know. And then when you watch it, and like I had no concept that it was possible for it to be this good. It's so good. I mean, I'm biased, but like I think our show's so good. And so watching it just like being dazzled by the opening sequence and Cyclops rescuing Roberto and all of that. And then we get to him waking up in the mansion in Beast's lair, and then I'm just like, oh my god, George Buza sounds the same. He sounds so good. You know, I'm just geeking out as a fan. And then by the time it gets to me, I feel like I don't remember what I did. I hope it comes off well. I trust the team to not let me look stupid. They don't want the show to look stupid. They're not going to let anything stupid through, right? So, watching it, I feel like in that scene, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. That wasn't stupid. That was fine. Great. So then you can sort of relax more, you know.
I don't know if it's easier for like animation. I was extremely nervous. Like oh my God, I don't know. Like and I said this many times because through my process of recording I started that first episode. I think it was the first one that I recorded. I put on a much thicker accent, and then through all the process, you just kept asking me to tone it down until I just spoke the way I spoke, with some, a little bit here and there. So I was just so nervous, and like it's gonna sound all over the place, and there are moments that's a little heavier than others, but I just had never really, like heard my voice as an animated character on that big screen. So, oh my God, but everybody, everybody was reacting in such a positive way in that theater.
I think it's safe to say you guys nailed it.
And then see everybody else, every time somebody else would, showed up on screen, I was like, oh my God, they're so good. They're so good. They're so good. It's so nice.
All right, folks. Well, let's give a big round of applause. Wait, let's give them a mutant and proud. Let's scream mutant and proud to them. Mutant and proud! Folks can find you now for a photo opportunity, and then you have your booth right here, right? All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.